Well, Louisiana, unfortunately, we're no stranger to a lot of disasters. I'm thinking about a few hurricanes, namely Katrina. How about a BP leak, oil spill, etc.? We have had our share of disasters. Drew Brees not having signed a contract yet. That could be another massive disaster, right? Seriously, we've got a couple of gentlemen here to talk about disasters and really sharing some best practices. Jimmy Mouton is with us. Jimmy is the director of the IDCE. That stands for the International Disaster Conference and Expo. Big event coming up in January. And Pat Santos is here. Pat is with the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. Good to have you all here.
Thanks, sir. Good to be here.
This is wood, Pat, so I'll go ahead and knock on this right now. So far, so good, right?
It's been quiet so far, and hopefully it stays that way.
And I'll knock on wood once again. Jimmy, what is the ICDE? I understand the name is International Disaster Conference and Expo. What do you do?
Basically, we are a conference that works to bring together the public and private sectors involved in disaster preparation, response, and recovery.
Okay.
We focus on the entire spectrum of disasters, from homeland security to all the way to business continuity and resiliency for communities. The idea is to bring together a global focus on disasters and look at the events not only from how the public sector responds and prepares, but also how they use the private sector resources in those same planning. So we bring subject matter experts from everywhere from Japan, the Netherlands, Australia.
Wow.
All these different areas that face disasters that may be different or somewhat similar to what we go through here. They unite in New Orleans and discuss the issues that they face. And we try to come out of the conference with good policies and practices that basically mitigate losses and save lives in the future.
Well, sharing best practices, right? Best practices, best equipment, best techniques, and things like that.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
And Pat, what role does the Governor's Office of Homeland Security, what role do you all play in this?
Well, as you mentioned before, we've had more than our fair share of disasters here in Louisiana. And we've had the opportunity to have a lot of hard lessons learned.
Yeah.
You mentioned about best practices. You know, we have many of the best practices that we've been able to develop right here in Louisiana. The Louisiana Business EOC, which is we put something together at working with the Stevens Disaster Management Institute at LSU and NIMSAT at the University of Louisiana Lafayette, bringing that together, bringing the public and the private sector together for the first time.
Right.
And it has been recognized nationally as a best practice. But sharing that type of information with not only people who attend from the United States all across the country, but also, like Jimmy said, internationally as well, sharing these best practices with them.
Because as we saw during Katrina, for one example, it really is, it has to be a public-private partnership because the government alone is not equipped, capable of handling all of the issues until the public buys into it and helps and understands what they're trying to accomplish, right?
Resiliency, getting our communities back up after a disaster, we focus on that extensively.
Right. And it does take a public-private awareness, right?
It does. It does. We have a committee that steers our event that includes people like, obviously, Kevin Davis, who is one of our chairmen for our show, who is the director of the Governor's Office of Homeland Security, Governor Tom Ridge, who is now obviously the president for Ridge Global, the former director of and first director of the Office of Homeland Security. Those are some of the leaders that are on our committees that help us build this conference and identify not just the issues, but the people to come in and speak about the issues and lead the team to really put the best content together that we can.
And I would think too, Jimmy, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you would welcome someone who has an idea or a piece of equipment to come to the expo, contact you all, and be an exhibitor so that others can learn from that practice, right?
Exactly. Not only learn from the practice, but what supplies, what services, what's available to support the industry in preparation and recovery from disasters. So we welcome anyone in the industry who can support the industry or has something to contribute that we can discuss on all levels and hopefully be able to make the whole process of preparing for and responding to disasters a better process and, like I said, mitigate losses.
Well, now the next expo does not happen until early January 8th, 9th, and 10th at the Memorial Center down in New Orleans, but it's not too late to get information, get press releases, and begin to gear up. Here's the website, idcexpo.us, correct?
That is exactly right.
Just go to idcexpo.us idcexpo.us, and all the information is there. You can sign up, get the press releases, keep up to date with what's happening, who the exhibitors are, and all that.
Or you can go to internationaldisasterconference.com.
Okay, good.
You can get information there.
Jimmy, thank you so much. Pat, thank you for being here. Okay?
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you both so much. And again, the website, idcexpo.us, or again, internationaldisasterconference.com.